Well, it's here. Football's in the air. 100th season of WKU football opening up with a monumental opponent, arguably the most challenging opening opponent in school history. I think it's up there with probably the 2017 that opened with a combination of Tim Tebow and Cam Newton up there down there in Gainesville, Florida. But our players and our program are really excited for this challenge. Excited to get up to one of the great atmospheres in all of college football and compete against the best. A team that is going into the season already slotted in the CFP Final Four as a preseason favorite to be really in that top four, and that's earned. That's deserved. This is a team that when you watch them on film, they play the game the right way. This Wisconsin team, they have one of the best offensive lines in school history, 5 returning starters, and even one of those starters is going to rotate with a 6th player at tackle, which shows just how quality the depth is behind those returning 5 starters. A running back that, you know, from my vantage point watching the film in Taylor that I believe is Saquon Barkley-like with longer body type than even Barkley, and 6'1", 230, can blow the top off with the ball in his hands. Yeah, that's an unbelievable combination of size and speed in Taylor. And then on defense, you know, look at their defensive unit. Really only returned 4 full-time starters, but a lot of players that have played a lot of snaps there, no doubt about it. But you look at a great defense, it should be built stout down the middle, and they got that with a nose tackle and Olive Sangapolu, who's a great player up front. Does a great job of setting the front. Does a great job of not allowing you to get combination blocks up because he's eating up the center as the 0 technique in 3 down, and then in 4 down is tough to deal with. Hard to get off to the second level in combination blocks, and then really their 2 inside linebackers are 2 of the best in the country. To be a tandem like that with T.J. Edwards starting, I believe it's 40 consecutive starts going into his 5th year. That's a lot of football that he's played, and to be close to double-digit turnovers, really impressive. But the guy that really stands out to me on tape, that I see as a future pro is the other inside linebacker. Started his career off as a walk-on, and I think that Connolly is going to be a great pro at the next level as well. In addition to the other 2 that I mentioned, great athleticism. Started off, like I said, as a walk-on. Plays with incredible chip on his shoulder, and then down the middle, continuing down there is Dakota Dixon. Having a safety that's played as much as he has right down the middle. They'll play him deep, and in their quarter schemes, and then their cover 1 schemes, they'll play him as the safety that for the most part will be the roof of their defense, and does a very nice job of that and gets his hands on balls. Very opportunistic player. A guy that we have to be very aware of is Van Ginkel. Alex Van Ginkel's a very, very ballistic pass rusher. They want to create pressures where they can put him on your worst matchup, and that's something that we got to be very aware of. But going into this game, I like where our football team is. A year ago, we went in with some injuries going into our opening game against Eastern Kentucky. The work that these players have put in, this is about their opportunity to go compete against the best, and what the work that they've done with Coach Veltkamp. They're going into this game healthy. They're going into this game fresh, and I believe they're going into this game with a good amount of confidence in the work that they've put in. And I'm looking forward to seeing just how our players respond, particularly some of our younger players that haven't been in an environment like this. And I got a lot of confidence in this group of players. I think that they're fully bought into what's going on. I think the leadership from our captains on defense in particular, Dre Ferris and Ben Holt, has been incredible. And they're going to really set the tone for what's to come for this season. And we're going up there with the mentality of to play great football, worry about each and every individual play, play with great effort, play with great enthusiasm, take care of the football as we know is always paramount importance going into a game like this, and give it everything we've got, play together for 4 quarters. And that's the goal, is to play possessed, to play excited, to play fresh, because we are, but most of all to play together as one unit as the Hilltopper football team starting this year off in year 100. So with that, I'll open it up with questions.
Mike, before I ask about the Badgers, you mentioned the 100th year here a couple times in your opening statement. Knowing you you have studied the history here a lot. How often have you gone through some of this stuff, or maybe Kyle has told you a tidbit, and you sat there and gone, wow, that's pretty cool?
Quite a bit. Even in this offseason. Having the opportunity to meet one of the legendary coaches on campus here, John Oldham. I went over and spent some time with him and his wife, and just even the article that just came out in the Washington Post highlighting his life is, the thing that was so neat about that for me to talk with him is that he almost went through his entire time as a student athlete and then as a coach here on the Hill, talked about the football coaches, and was able to hear a lot more about what made Coach Jimmy Fikes such an amazing coach. So a lot of times it's great to read, statistics and printouts, but to actually hear from somebody that was a peer of his and the relationship that Coach Oldham had with Coach Fikes, and then clearly that Coach Diddle had with Coach Fikes towards the end of Coach Diddle's career. Hearing about the legends that come before us, even as a football coach, it's humbling to take the team into the 100th year, and we take the responsibility as a football team and me as the coach very seriously to represent those that came before us in the way that would make them proud, and that's to be a team that's unified, that's hungry, that places a big chip on its shoulder, and to honor those that came before us.
What were some of the toughest decisions to put together this depth chart?
I think the running back position, as you see, pretty unique. I think it's the first time that we put 5 oars, or 4 oars actually, over 5 names. But that's exactly what it's going to be. We feel that DeAndre Furby and Marquez Trigg, who had the lion's share of the work last year, are much better in 2018 going into the season than they were in 2017. Much, much better. And we also believe that there's 3 really, really talented young backs, and that's what recruiting's about. You talk about how do you improve, your run game. Well, first and foremost, you get better players. You continue to elevate the level of your roster, and as a result of elevating the level of our roster at that position with Josh Samuel, Garland LaFrance, and Geno Appleberry, it's made Marquez Trigg and DeAndre Furby more complete backs, more hungry backs, running with better pad level, worrying about getting everything about their body in position to be explosive and dynamic, and they've done that. I think that those other 3 young backs have all earned opportunities to play against Wisconsin. That's going to happen. The other part to get better in the run game is you have to evaluate your schemes, and so we studied long and hard. To the average yeoman, to the average fan, it might look similar. I don't know. It depends on how everything kind of plays itself out. But in terms of the schemes, I should say, it might look similar. But in terms of to a football coach, to the defensive coordinator at Wisconsin, who's been preparing based off 2017 film, there's going to be a lot of stuff that they're going to have to work through in terms of variety that they didn't have on tape from 2017. And I look forward to that. And that really comes down to a great synergy that we have on the offensive side of the ball, and the work that Coach Woods and Coach Sanford Sr. Have collaborated on, and the fact that the 2 of them, have really worked together as O-line coach and running back coach at Utah State, a team that won, 10, 11 games back in 2011 or 12. So that I'm looking forward to seeing that all come together.
Are you going to try to get all 5 of those guys reps?
Yeah, I think that every single one of those, all 5 of those guys are going to play against Wisconsin.
Will you keep it that way for the duration of the season, or would you rather have a workhorse by the end of the year?
Would love to have a workhorse, and that's what we've had opportunities in scrimmages to see who is going to run the best, and that was going to declare the starter. I'll be honest, all 5 of them have done really good things. We've run the ball very effectively this camp. And I think it's made our defense fit the run even better because we have more variety to what we do, and we have different types of backs that I think complement the schemes really well. So I'd like for there to be a back that takes the lion's share of the reps, but in reality, we have an embarrassment of riches if we can get this thing rolling up front and with them in their tracks. And I really do believe that that's a possibility this year. We got to stay healthy, as we know.
Coach, outside of Dixon and their secondary, they're a little bit more younger and experienced. Do you think that's an area where you can kind of attack them?
Well, we've been watching a lot of film. They're a team, of course, last year that held teams second fewest points allowed of any team in the country, 16 points a game with an unbelievable defense and a great secondary. But as a result of holding teams to 16 points a game and scoring, in the mid-30s, I believe, upper 30s, they blew out a lot of teams. So the average score was essentially 38-16. So they had a lot of opportunities to play, Madison Cone, and so you've seen him on tape. You've seen Caesar Williams on tape. You've seen Dante Carrier Williams on tape. You've seen Eric Burrell on tape, even though he was banged up a little bit last year. I think that they're a group of corners and safeties outside of Dakota Dixon that plays a little bit more like a veteran group because they have played in games that were out of hand by the time we get to the fourth quarter.
Mike, none of us can predict the future, and I know you guys go to play, to use Herman Edwards' line, you play to win the game. I can tell the tone in your voice that no matter what happens on Friday, you feel good about how your guys are going to play. I can just tell the tone of your voice, your gut feeling, and you're nodding your head, and I'll let you take it from there.
It's a team that loves to play. It's a team that is becoming more and more cohesive every single day. It's a team with a lot of really exciting young players that can bring some different types of dynamics that we may not have had last year. But at the end of the day, it's the opening game. You watch every opener across the country, and you see poor tackling, you see bad ball security, you see a lot of penalties. We're now exposing a bunch of young players, particularly on the offensive side of the ball, to probably what's going to end up being, I would say, the loudest environment in college football in week one. So, I'm not going to sleep really well on that front, but we've practiced. We've prepared in the noise. We've had, practice has been with speakers blaring right in front of our center's ears often. We've worked on various types of cadences to make sure we neutralize the impact of us getting off the football together. But at the end of the day, I know that we have something special brewing on that roster, and it's because of those players. And it's because of the cohesiveness that we have in year two between the players and the coaches and the coaches and the coaches and the players and the players. And that's been big about us going into this year, is that it's not about any individual player. It's about a collection of individuals. And I do believe we have a lot to play for, this season, being year 100, being picked where we were picked in Conference USA. And so we want to go out there and play our best football up in Madison, regardless of what the circumstances are going into the game, during the game, following the game. I think that we have a group of mighty men, mighty warriors, 10 seniors deep that have gone through a lot of change, a lot of which have fought through a lot of injuries, and they're looking forward to putting it all on the line against one of the best teams in college football.
Could there be a better learning experience for a quarterback making his first start?
I think that's a really good point. And I think it's important that we, as a coaching staff, do everything we can to put Drew in positions to be successful early. And not ask him to do what maybe a 3-year starter is doing on the first 2, 3, 4 series of the game. But we also got to let him play. We got to let him play because he's earned the right to have great confidence. He's earned the right because he hasn't turned the football over in camp. He's had 2 turnovers in 26 days at fall camp. That's really impressive. I just a lot of respect for Drew and how he's approached this position. I think he's really excited. Look forward to slapping him around a little bit, slap his helmet in pregame, get him going, get the juices flowing, and tell him to go out there and have some fun, kid, because that's what he's going to do. He's that kind of a player, and the players respond to the type of joy he has for playing the game.
Do you have a set number of times you want your quarterback to run per game that will be dictated by an opponent?
We do. We do have a set number. It's a pitch count. We wouldn't want to obviously reveal that number currently, but we do have a pitch count for the amount of times that we run our quarterback, both by design and obviously within the throwing game as well. So. Drew is he has some athletic traits, but I think his game starts first and foremost as a trained passer in the pocket, and we want to see those traits come out. I think the perception right now probably that exists is that Mike White was a pure passer in the pocket, and Drew is just a wild card run around type guy because we used him in that capacity. Drew's trained. Coach Mitchell, myself, we've worked really hard with him to have him trained within the progression progressions within what we do from the pocket and outside of it, and he's done a good job of that.
Mike, forgive me if this has been asked, but it's about Ben Holt. And I was telling someone the other day, he's an old soul in a young man's body, and you obviously know his parents in that situation. And how much does it speak to him that he's bought in and made your transition smoother? And, you know, I know you love talking about him, you love coaching him, but has that made him even more impressive, you know, what he's accomplished in being named a captain?
Well, the thing that has been so neat about Ben's maturation is he is an old soul, but he's on the field. I mean, he is a possessed individual. And since we've been here, I've loved that aspect of his game. I fell in love with him as a player a lot earlier than Coach White did and Coach Crum did on the defensive side of the ball, because they were trying to harness that in to make sure he's fitting the right gaps. And so his maturation as a player is second to none. Now he's harnessing all that juice, all that energy, all that aggression, and being where he's supposed to be, but doing it violently. We know he's going to give up some size when he goes against Wisconsin, quite a bit, to be honest. But he's going to play with his hair on fire. I know that. The other part of it is just the relationship that that I've had, quite honestly, with Coach Holt, with Nick over the years. It's a relationship that went back to me as a player. I was a player as a senior at Boise State, and there's a new head coach over there at the University of Idaho, our big rivalry game, and there was this wild head coach that was running around, jumping, screaming, yelling on the other sideline. I remember that guy. So I like that guy, and I found out that my father and him have had similar circles over the years, and actually interviewed for my first assistant coaching job was with Coach Holt at Idaho. Interviewed for the wide receiver job. So there's a relationship there, and I know that he's done a great job up at Purdue, did a great job here, and I was at Stanford and coached against him both at Washington, at USC. So there is a relationship, and as a result of that, every time that he's been around practice, when he does get time away from Purdue, Coach Holt and I will try to talk briefly, and the biggest thing we just talk is, as he's the parent of one of our players, and that's what he loves. He's passionate about his sons. He has high expectation, high standards for them. But I had an opportunity when the team voted Ben, unanimously as a captain. I called him early in the morning, the next morning, and I told him. He already knew, of course, but what I told him on that message is, we actually talked on the phone, was that you have a lot to be proud of as a father. And I know, I'm the son of a coach. And I know how much that means to a coach when their son is somebody that they can be proud of, and somebody else is taking note of that. And I think the message to Nick and to Julie Holt is they got a lot to be proud of with their son, and he's really excited about the role of being a captain. He doesn't really know what to do with it yet. We're going to meet about it later on today and talk about what our expectations are of he and Dre Ferris, and that's going to be exciting.
I wouldn't be remiss if I didn't ask about Dre's responsibility as a captain and how you think he'll handle that.
Dre's a natural leader. He, in every sense of the word, he lives his life a way that is with what you want your captain to be. The players on the team respond to him. They respect him exactly for who he is. So Dre's leadership is so natural. And all I ask of Dre and of Ben is that we could have a great conversation as the year goes on, to make sure that, this big we, little me mentality, it carries us through the entire season, that it never becomes more about, myself or our staff, but it becomes about us as a whole unit. And so we want to have a great ongoing conversation with Dre and Ben, and then our special teams captain of the week, which we're gonna name here soon, and then also as we do a rotational captain of the week.
What did Miles Pate and Jordan Meredith do to earn the starts on the right side of the line?
I think Miles Pate is probably our most improved offensive lineman in terms of his aggression. That was a big challenge for Miles. You got to come off the football every snap, for 78 to 85 snaps, and he's done that through camp. Coach Woods and him have been a great partnership. And then Jordan Meredith he's a throwback. I'm not gonna lie, I love offensive linemen that come off the bus and they are looking to move another man against his will, and that's exactly who Jordan Meredith is. That's become exactly who Miles Pate is, and as a partnership, I love their mentality of coming off the football in the run game. We need that. We can't be a space blocking unit. We can't be a position blocking unit. We've got to move people. We know that. And then the center, Seth Jost, and then Tyler Witt and Cole Spencer. Those are all guys, all 5 of those guys meet that criteria of 5 guys that want to move another man against their will. Now, let's be honest, right? There isn't one starter across that group that started in that position last season. So it's going to be some time to work through that, but the work that they've put in gives me a lot of room for excitement and gives this team, more importantly, a lot of room for confidence in how they approach the game of football. And the fact that they are going to be a cohesive unit for at least this year and beyond to next year, and quite a few of them will be starting potentially for 3-4 more years.
Mike, about the Badgers, I'm kind of guilty of you said about the offensive line and their running back. You nailed it. And I remember watching their bowl game and kind of thinking back on it. I said, you know, I kind of overlooked their quarterback. But it's pretty good. Really good player. Alex Hornibrook's going to be a pro. He's got, NFL prototype size. I feel like every Wisconsin quarterback over the years has either had NFL prototype size or has been named Russell Wilson. So that's a pretty good group. I think that the stat that really jumped out to me about Alex Hornibrook is that he's 20-3 as a starter. Okay, 870 winning percentage, and the offense has averaged 31.4 points a game in the 23 games that he's started. You don't do that with just turning around and handing the football off. Alex Hornibrook's made a lot of plays, and I've followed his offseason a little bit, watched him go to Elite 11s and Manning Passing Academy, all the different variety of things that you go on as a veteran quarterback that's established. And everywhere he went, you could tell that he was the guy that everybody gravitated towards. So he's clearly a natural leader, and I think he's got underrated athleticism to extend plays with his feet.
Anything else? Coach, thank you.
Thank you, Coach.
Thank you, guys.